Precision timepieces on Beverly Hills Rodeo Drive was where the world's most expensive watches were sold. That hot Tuesday afternoon, store manager Vincent Carmichael was inspecting the million-dollar collection in his display cases, completely unaware that in just a few hours he would make the biggest mistake of his life. The 58-year-old Vincent was a Harvard Business School graduate and third-generation luxury watch dealer who considered himself a master at categorizing customers by their appearance. But the elderly man about to enter his store would shatter all his prejudices and deliver Beverly Hills' most expensive lesson, because sometimes the greatest fortunes hide beneath the most ordinary clothes. Vincent had started that day with his usual routine. He looked impeccable in his Italian suit, polished English shoes, and $50,000 Patek Philippe watch. He was giving instructions to his assistant, Maria Rodriguez. "Maria, we need to be careful with customer selection. Watches at this level aren't for everyone." Maria was a 26-year-old Latina with a psychology degree from UCLA, and while she was uncomfortable with her boss's elitist attitude, she needed this job to pay off her student loans. "I understand, Mr. Carmichael," she replied. The watches in the display cases truly carried astronomical price tags. A $2.8 million Patek Philippe, a $1.7 million Richard Mille, and Vincent's crown jewel, a $3.2 million Paul Newman Rolex Daytona. This last piece was special because only 3 had ever been made, and this one came from Paul Newman's personal collection. Vincent considered this watch the store's crown, and only showed it to the most distinguished clientele. At 2:30, the store's door opened. The man who walked in was nothing like what Vincent expected. About 75 years old, wearing faded Levi's jeans, a gray t-shirt, and worn Converse sneakers. Behind thick-framed glasses, curious eyes surveyed his surroundings. Vincent looked him up and down and categorized him as a typical curious tourist. But this ordinary-looking visitor was actually John Michael Osbourne, known worldwide as the famous Ozzy Osbourne, and he had a $5 million shopping budget in his pocket for Sharon's 74th birthday. When Ozzy surveyed the store, the opulence of the atmosphere impressed him. Crystal chandeliers, marble flooring, gold details. Everything was in the luxurious style that Sharon loved. "Bloody hell," he muttered in his Birmingham accent. "This place looks more expensive than Buckingham Palace." As he approached the display cases, his eye caught the Paul Newman Daytona. "Now that's a proper watch," he thought. He remembered photos taken with Paul Newman in the 1960s. Back then, both were young and successful. This watch would make the perfect nostalgic gift for Sharon. Vincent approached, feeling uncomfortable with the customer's style. "Can I help you, sir?" he said, his voice professional, but cold. Ozzy turned his head with that warm smile. "Yeah, mate, I was looking at that Rolex in the corner. Quite stunning." Vincent's eyebrows furrowed. The man's accent clearly indicated he came from the lower class. "That's a very special piece, sir. Perhaps you'd be interested in something more accessible." Curiosity sparked in Ozzy's eyes. "Accessible? What's special about this one, then?" Vincent smiled inwardly. These types of customers usually left immediately after hearing the price. "This is a 1968 Paul Newman Rolex Daytona, sir. One of only 3 ever made. It's from Paul Newman's personal collection. He deliberately didn't mention the price." Ozzy said with interest. "Paul Newman, eh? Great actor. Met him a few times back in the 70s. Lovely bloke. What's the price?" Vincent was surprised. Claiming to have met Paul Newman was odd. "The price is $3.2 million, sir. Plus tax, of course." Ozzy didn't seem shocked at all. "Reasonable for such a piece," he said calmly. "Could I have a closer look?" This response shocked Vincent, but due to professional courtesy, he began removing the watch from the display case. His assistant Maria was curiously watching the situation. Usually such customers fled after hearing the price. But this elderly man seemed different. She noticed a tremor in his hands. It could be a sign of aging. But that tremor would soon cause a $3.2 million disaster. When Ozzy took the watch in his hands, he felt its weight. Real craftsmanship was like this. Heavy, solid quality. "Beautiful craftsmanship," he said, examining the watch from different angles. Sharon would love this. It's our 42nd wedding anniversary next month. Vincent perked up. A 42-year marriage was impressive. Maybe this man was different than he thought. Your wife appreciates fine timepieces? He asked, his voice a bit warmer. Ozzy laughed. Oh, mate, Sharon appreciates everything fine. Houses, cars, jewelry. She's got expensive taste, that woman, but she's worth every penny. Maria smiled. The man's love for his wife was very genuine. As Ozzy continued examining the watch, he went on, You know, I bought my first Rolex in 1972. Cost me 500 quid back then. Now look at these prices. Vincent's interest increased. £500 was big money in 1972. What business are you in, sir? He asked. Ozzy said modestly. Entertainment industry. Well, was, retired now mostly. Sharon keeps me busy with honey-do lists. While Ozzy was examining the watch, he experienced a sudden hand spasm caused by Parkinson's disease. The watch slipped from his fingers and fell onto the marble floor. Glass pieces scattered in all directions. Paul Newman's signed dial split in two, the mechanism scattered everywhere. Vincent's scream echoed throughout every corner of the store. What have you done? His face turned red, his veins bulged. That was a $3.2 million watch. Do you understand what you've just destroyed? Ozzy said calmly. I'm terribly sorry, mate. My hand slipped. I'll pay for the damages, of course. Vincent's anger spiraled out of control. Pay for it? You? Look at yourself. You're wearing a $20 t-shirt and sneakers with holes. This watch costs more than you'll make in 10 lifetimes. The other customers in the store, an elderly Japanese collector and a young tech billionaire, were watching the situation in astonishment. Maria was looking at her boss's behavior in horror. Vincent was completely out of control now. How did you even get in here? This is Beverly Hills, not some thrift store. People like you shouldn't be allowed in establishments like this. That familiar glint appeared in Ozzy's eyes, the composure that came from 50 years of stage experience. People like me? He asked, his voice still calm but now with an edge. And what exactly do you mean by that, mate? Vincent went even further. Look at your clothes. Your shoes. You probably don't even have $500 to your name. This is a joke. I'm calling security. At that moment, the Japanese customer Hiroshi Tanaka expressed his discomfort. Excuse me, but this behavior is very unprofessional. Vincent turned to him. Mr. Tanaka, I apologize. This person clearly doesn't belong here. Ozzy pulled out his wallet, and that old leather wallet truly looked worn. Vincent said triumphantly, See? Probably has food stamps in there. But what Ozzy pulled out shocked Vincent. A jet black J.P. Morgan Chase private bank card, a card only given to customers with net worth over $25 million. Vincent froze when he saw the card. This can't be real, he stammered. Ozzy placed the card on the counter. Check it if you want, mate. No limit on this one. Maria approached and examined the card. Mr. Carmichael, this is a real J.P. Morgan Reserve card, and the name is John M. Osbourne. Vincent's hand trembled as he took the card, feeling the coldness of the metal. These cards were only given to ultra-high net worth individuals. Mr. Osbourne, he said, his voice now shaky. What industry did you say you were in? Ozzy flashed that famous mischievous smile. Entertainment, mate. Music, specifically. Ever heard of Black Sabbath? At that moment, 22-year-old UCLA student Jake Wilson, who was in the corner of the store delivering a package for the part-time delivery service he worked for, overheard this conversation. Wait a minute, he said, approaching excitedly. Black Sabbath? Are you telling me you're Ozzy Bloody Osbourne? Vincent was confused. Who's Ozzy Osbourne? Jake couldn't believe it. Dude, are you serious? He's only the godfather of heavy metal, the Prince of Darkness. He literally invented a whole genre of music. Ozzy said modestly, Well, that's putting it a bit strong, son. But guilty as charged. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the store completely changed. Jake pulled out his phone. Holy! I'm standing next to Ozzy Osbourne. Hiroshi Tanaka now understood the situation too. Ah, Ozzy-san. My son is huge fan in Tokyo. Ozzy smiled at both of them. Nice to meet you both. Vincent's world had collapsed. A music legend was standing in front of him, and he had called him poor. Maria said in shock, "Mr. Osbourne, I can't believe I didn't recognize you. My dad played your music all the time when I was growing up." Ozzy said calmly, "Don't worry, love. Happens all the time. I look different without the stage makeup and leather pants." Vincent began stammering. "Mr. Osbourne, I had no idea who you were. This is a tremendous honor." Ozzy raised his hand. "Easy there, mate. No need for the royal treatment, but you might want to work on that customer service." Jake was still in shock. "Dude, your net worth is like $220 million. You could buy this entire store." Ozzy burst into laughter. "Don't give me ideas, son. Sharon already thinks I spend too much." Ozzy looked at the watch pieces on the floor. "Now, Vincent, mate, about this mess. How much damage are we talking?" Vincent was now sweating. "Mr. Osbourne, given who you are, perhaps we can—" Ozzy cut him off. "No special treatment, mate. I broke it. I pay for it. Fair and square." Vincent calculated. The watch was insured for $3.2 million, but given its provenance and rarity, probably $4 million total replacement cost. Ozzy didn't even hesitate. "Done. Process the payment." Maria couldn't believe it. $4 million and you're not even hesitating? Ozzy replied, "Maria, love, at my age money is just numbers. But breaking Paul Newman's watch, that's personal. He was a good man." Hiroshi said respectfully, "Very honorable, Osbourne, son." Jake added, "This is the most expensive accident in Beverly Hills history." Vincent's hands were trembling as he processed the card. The $4 million transaction went through without any questions. While making the payment, Ozzy told the story. "Paul Newman and I met at a charity event in 1975. Nice bloke, very down to earth. He loved cars and watches. Would have laughed at this situation." Jake asked in amazement, "You actually knew Paul Newman?" Ozzy smiled. "Son, when you've been in this business as long as I have, you meet everyone. Frank Sinatra, Elvis, the Beatles. Different era back then." Maria asked curiously, "What was it like meeting Elvis?" Ozzy's eyes welled up. "Tragic, actually. He was struggling with his demons. We all were back then. But his music? Immortal." Vincent was now trying to compose himself. "Mr. Osbourne, this experience has been educational," he said shamefully. Ozzy put his hand on Vincent's shoulder. "Good. Learning never stops, mate. And Vincent, next time someone walks into your store, remember, you never know who they might be." Hiroshi respectfully added, "In Japan we say, never judge a book by its cover." Ozzy nodded his head. "Wise words. Your culture understands respect." Jake gathered his courage and asked, "Mr. Osbourne, can I ask you something? How do you stay so humble with all your success?" Ozzy thought for a moment. "Son, success is temporary. Character is permanent. Money comes and goes, but how you treat people stays with you forever." These words affected everyone in the store. Vincent spoke shamefully. "Mr. Osbourne, I owe you a sincere apology." Ozzy raised his hand. "Apology accepted, mate. But promise me something. Treat everyone who walks through that door with the same respect you'd show me." Vincent said determinedly, "Absolutely, sir. This will change how I do business." Ozzy pointed to the watch pieces on the floor. "Keep those pieces. Frame them. Put a sign underneath. The day we learned not to judge by appearances." Maria exclaimed excitedly, "That's actually a great idea." Jake also added, "This should become like a landmark or something." Ozzy smiled. "Just remember the lesson, not the money involved." Then he turned to Vincent with a serious expression. "And Vincent, that young lady Maria there, she's got more class than half your usual customers. Treat her well." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Mr. Osbourne," she said in a trembling voice. As Ozzy prepared to leave, he added one last thing. "Vincent, mate, I've been rich and I've been poor. Rich is better, but it doesn't make you a better person. How you treat people when you think they can't do anything for you, that's who you really are." Maria courageously asked, "Mr. Osbourne, would you mind if I asked for a photo?" Ozzy said warmly, "Of course, love. But let's get Vincent in there too. This is his learning moment." Vincent was surprised. "You want me in the photo? After how I treated you?" Ozzy replied firmly, "That's exactly why, mate. Everyone deserves a second chance." After the photo was taken, Ozzy looked at his watch. "Now I better get home before Sharon wonders where I've been." "She's got a sixth sense about my shopping trips," he said, laughing. Hiroshi said respectfully, "Please give my regards to Mrs. Osbourne." Ozzy replied, "Will do, mate." She'll get a kick out of this story. Jake asked curiously, "Are you going to tell her you spent $4 million on accident?" Ozzy thought for a moment. "Son, you obviously don't know Sharon Osbourne." "She'll find out before I get home." Everyone burst into laughter. Walking toward the door, Ozzy turned around one last time. The store was now a completely different place. Vincent's arrogant air had been replaced by genuine curiosity. Maria was confidently talking to customers. Jake was still in shock, and Hiroshi was on the phone telling the story to his friends in Tokyo. "Remember, folks," said Ozzy, that familiar stage authority in his voice, "we're all just people trying to get through life. Some of us just have fancier clothes while we're doing it." And as he walked out the door, he left behind not just a broken watch, but changed lives. Vincent established a new rule in his store from that day forward. Treat everyone like they might be Ozzy Osbourne. The broken watch pieces were indeed framed and hung on the wall with the inscription, "The day we learned appearances deceive." Maria was promoted that same week and put in charge of customer service. The most surprising development happened that evening. When Ozzy got home and told Sharon what had happened, Sharon was first shocked, then laughed. "Ozzy Osbourne, only you could accidentally break a $3.2 million watch and turn it into a life lesson," she said. But Sharon didn't stop there. That evening she sent Vincent a special card. "Thank you for treating my husband fairly in the end. Second chances matter. We all make mistakes, but not everyone learns from them. Sharon Osbourne." A week later, this incident became Beverly Hills' most famous story. Other luxury store owners began modeling Vincent's new approach. And Ozzy? He still walks around in his old t-shirts, but now everyone in Beverly Hills recognizes him. And more importantly, they treat everyone like they would treat Ozzy. Because appearances can deceive, but character never does. And sometimes the biggest lessons come from the most expensive mistakes.